we welcome Jason Pinko aboard the Lazy Gecko to complete a rigging survey. Jason is one of the best surveyors and riggers in the business. He has tons of experience.
We were born before the wind.
So grab something to take notes with, sit back, and enjoy.
Also younger than the sun.
My name is Jason Pinko, a Marine Survey. I am a surveyor with the Society of Accredited Marine Surveyors. I also have my own rigging company. I'm here to survey your vessel today. Let's talk about cycles. Cycling of rigging. First cycle I want to explain to you guys before we get too heavy into this is a piece of rigging is good for X amount of time as per manufacturer. That is considered one life cycle. And as we go through this, we will get into multiple life cycles of fittings. But right now, a piece of swaged wire, we have a backstay here if you'd like to show them that. And I can actually talk about 2 cycles with that specific item. But the wire itself from manufacturer is given 1 life cycle. According to what the Coast Guard is saying with inspected vessels, it's between 6 and 12 years now. Okay. 12 years being, you know, freshwater vessel, Great Lakes, light use boats. Right. You get down to the 6 years with the high salinity, tropics. It's going to wear on the swaging. Right. The swages of the wire, taking it down to 1 life cycle. A swage is good for 1 life cycle, so it has to be discarded and replaced if you use swaged fittings. This is going to lead us into swaging real quick. 2 types of swaging. There's the roller swaging and there's a rotary swaging. The machine actually spins around the swage, cold forming it onto the wire. And if I can find those types of swages on the boat, I will point, identify, and show you how I know the difference. Specific fittings are given now by the Coast Guard for life cycles. Swage fitting being 1 cycle. Mechanical fittings, Staylock, Hain high mods, Navtech mechanical fittings are given 2 life cycles. Reusable fittings are what they are considered, so the Coast Guard is respecting that. Once a piece of rigging has spent 1 cycle, that fitting, the mechanical fitting, the turnbuckle, the staylock, can be reused a second time with proper inspection and service. That's all coming from the Coast Guard. Another piece of hardware, in your case, your chain plates are embedded in the deck. They are fiberglassed in. Right. The Coast Guard, with inspected vessels, is calling for 3 life cycles on a chain plate, if it can be inspected and reused. So not knowing the age of the vessel we're sitting on, right, exactly, you are probably beyond your life expectancy of chain plates. And a lot of vessels like you guys will take the chain plates instead of trying to get them dug out of the fiberglass and put back in the fiberglass. They will go external with your chain plates. They will use your existing chain plates, cut them off right at the deck, fiberglass over them, leave them there forever, and then put external chain plates on using the internal plates as the backing plates. So that's a really good option for a lot of people with embedded chain plates. Third type of cycling we're going to be talking about today is wire itself and the toggling effect. Right here we have your backstay once again, and it is double toggled. Well, the bottom toggle itself is going to give you 360-degree articulation. As I was walking up on the boat, I noticed a fitting up at the top of the mast that is not toggled, and it is on your backstay, basically the longest piece of rigging on the boat. And when we talk cycling, we're talking about the motion of the ocean, the effects of how the boat works, the leeward shrouds, when the wind is causing them to go to slack. We want to see that toggling action, because if you don't have a proper toggled fitting, what happens is that fitting, whether it be swage or mechanical, now uses the end of the fitting as its cycling points, causing the strands in that area to weaken, fatigue, premature. With mechanical fittings, you need to get yourself some information. Know what types of fittings, what size of wire, what you're going to be using. knowing the cycles of what has been instated. Pin sizes at the deck. You want a proper pin size. You do not want to float a pin. You do not want to point load a chain plate or a fitting. You want the pin to fill up the whole hole in general properly. You're going to need to know the wire size. A good set of calipers always helps. You're going to want to know the fittings, how the fittings come apart, how they go together, and the components inside of them. And then for the do-it-yourselfer, general kind of cruiser, you can go ahead and start working on them yourself. You are going to want a tension gauge. These gauges are very specific to specific wire sizes, and what they tell you is they just give you a basic scale. They give you an idea, a reference. Right now, looking at this, my gauge says about 17 on 5/16 inch wire. So that's going to tell me that this piece of wire is tightened up to 6% of its breaking strength. By tensioning your rig beforehand, before you start work, you have a point of starting when you replace your shroud to know where to put it back to. It's very important to get the details ahead of time. On this specific vessel, 6%, in my honest opinion, would be kind of light. I would like to see this vessel tightened up a little bit more, but knowing it's cruising, not racing, this vessel specifically is originally built as a racer cruiser, but they have gone cruiser with the owner's lifestyle. So a good number for this stay would probably be about 11%. 1,300 pounds would be a better number, and that would give you a little bit more tension on the rig. There would not be any flexing of the mast. There would not be any pumping of the mast. It would help. But when we're up the rig, I will go ahead and show you exactly what I'm talking about from the standpoint of the tension on the shrouds, not specifically this one stay. As you're looking up, these are called insulators. This specifically is a fail-safe insulator. It has a mechanism inside that if it ever gives, it's not supposed to part all the way. It's supposed to separate and let it be a telltale sign that something has gone wrong. Mechanical fitting on top. This plastic on different various brands is a telltale indicator. By looking through the many brands, Staylock, Navtech has their brand out. This is a specific brand. Knowing the construction, the brand of a insulator that you have, you will see that if the plastic is cracking, being inside of here, this is a threaded stud. When this plastic is cracking, that means that this stud is no longer holding inside of the plastic. So telltale signs of your rigging throughout ages. Not knowing the type brand we have here of silicone, this could be an acidic brand. You will know that by the original smell, the vinegar smell in silicone. Right now they're requesting that a polysulfide be used, another type of formula. Marine, Boat Life, Lifecock, different brands. What I'm doing is taking my 3M scratch pad, green pad if you will, and I'm getting rid of any exterior dirt, rust, so I can thoroughly inspect it by eye. If you know what you're looking for, it's pretty easy to tell if you do have a failure in process. I am finding good things here. I'm seeing that this turnbuckle has been lubricated the last time it was used. Once you find your chain plates, once you identify and get them cleaned up, you can have a good look at them. The biggest fear in embedded chain plates is water will get underneath and into this cavity where you cannot physically inspect, you cannot visually inspect, and that is where most failures happen, inside the fiberglass, where it's always wet and it can't be gotten to. As far as chain plates going through the deck, this is a yearly service item. Even using polysulfide, the proper material, it is recommended that you dig out and rebed these plates yearly. That
Okay.
gives you a little deeper look into the cavity around the chain plate. And then because of nature taking its course on the sulfide, polysulfide, or bedding compound, it will start to flake away and water will get in there, so that's why it becomes a yearly process of doing it again. In this specific case, it's pitting, so it is crevice corrosion. In the end, I would like to see all this removed, inspected thoroughly, and rebedded. Lifeline fittings. Lifeline fittings all around the vessel. These specifically are handy crimp lifelines. They are only made to, I believe, to withstand 40% of the breaking strength of the wire. Handy crimps are a great do-it-yourself way, but if you have a good focus on that, you can see that you don't have full engagement. As opposed to a rotary or a roll swage unit, which gives you 100% strength of the wire. I will have to confirm that with a catalog of actual strength of a handy crimp fitting. Starting to look at the main sheet attachment areas. These are all Merriman blocks, older brand. You can start to see the corrosion going on. The anodizing has been chipping off, so the actual aluminum cheek is disappearing to an extent. Right now, you're only being held by a rivet and a strap, the stainless strap. A good place to always look at these as you're cruising is check inside. If you see a lot of weeping of rust, there's a good chance that that top nut is corroding inside of the threaded area and is about to part. Older Merriman pad eyes, no failure sighted. This specific block is a Schaefer Series 5 fiddle. It looks like it is an upgrade from an older block, so there must have been a failure here. Factory Merriman pad eye. The lines appear to be in good condition. Slight sun damage, but that's what's to expect. External boom bail, through bolted, welded. Good points to always look at as you're inspecting your own vessel are the welded points, as welds are stronger than the stainless, but they also are more brittle where they attach to the stainless. 2 Series 5 Merriman blocks, older, lots of corrosion seams at the dissimilar metal joints. No failures are cited at this time. Boom gooseneck attachment, older style track, bronze car, stainless pin. I'm looking at the actual pin itself for wobble. Looking at the actual bronze fittings, all coated in chrome. Stainless bolts, not through bolted most likely, unless they do have a bolt, but we will never know. Stainless threaded fasteners, the cast aluminum fitting showing corrosion. You can see the paint bubbling off of it. These are always a good spot to look. You can see that there is separation on the lower part, but not the upper part. Maybe there is wear going on here. This will be a C finding in my report as something to monitor throughout the years. 7/8 stainless slides for the foot of the sail. Aluminum rivets along the actual track itself. You can have a look at some of the corrosion going on with the aluminum rivets at the stainless. Aluminum cleat, stainless fasteners, reefing winch on welded external plates. That is a Lumar single speed number 8. We will get to Winch's conversation when we get into the cockpit again, because there's more to talk about. Drilled and tapped into the base and the boom itself. Plastic, plastic, plastic. Always watch your plastic items with the UV damage in Florida, South areas, tropics. The boom has a cut-in right here, plastic sheave. Plastic will destroy with the UV. This appears to be in good operational condition. Reefing track system, adjustable to multiple places. Aluminum T-track on top. Bronze chrome-plated out-haul car. The plungers all work. Lock positively. Topping lift. Not knowing the strength of that little block right there, comparison to the actual wire topping lift and shackle, I'm gonna have to take a picture of that and get a load on that Harkin block right there. Used to be able to roll up the sail. It has been converted to an extent and through bolted at the gooseneck. Your Dutchman system. Dutchman is the sail controls in question. Drop the sail. It actually the monofilament fishing line. Always have a spool of that on hand because the UV eats up the mono pretty quick. And in all honesty, I believe it is just high quality fishing line is what it comes down to. 300 pound or something like that. So you can keep that in stock, used for fishing, and your Dutchman system. The pain in the behind is getting it into the top fittings when you're replacing it. Right now I'm looking at all your deck tracks on the starboard side. Aluminum track, bronze fittings. They all appear to be through bolted into the deck. As time goes by, this is a service point. Water will eventually make it through these fasteners and start intruding into the deck interior. Yearly service on that. The actual Genoa track runs the whole length. Another plunger car. In good condition, running forward. I stop. Checking all the plungers, checking the cars themselves. Just the dock cleats. Another bail, multi-purpose, all in good functional condition. Now looking at the starboard side shrouds, lower ends, once again all mechanical fittings. At the bottom, high mod brand. Unknown bedding inside the fitting. You can see it weeping out if you get a good focus on that. That's where we stress if you do bed them, make sure that it's good grade silicone with no acidic acid in it that will corrode stainless. Just by looking around, we have more silicone, unknown grade right there, being used as bedding. All these shrouds have been plastic washered, which is very nice. It just stops them from sliding around and point loading the bottom of the toggle. Not knowing the age of the rigging itself, turnbuckles are on the two cycle fitting list. 2 cycles, 2 cycles, 2 cycles. So guessing that this is the first cycle for the actual high mod fitting, these turnbuckles are showing a little bit of corrosion on them. Not corrosion, the chrome is coming off of them. That's about an 8-year process. But the lower toggle looks to be in good condition. Look at the shiny stainless. So an educated guess throughout the years. First cycle. This is on its second cycle. And then the stainless toggles on bottom are all on their first cycle. Port side, lower shrouds, just having a look. Once again, all bedded in silicone of some sort. Same situation as on the starboard side. First cycle, possibly second cycle, not really known. First cycle, all chain plates are in the same condition. Coming over here to the mast, deck level, Lumar winches, Lumar 16. aluminum anodized cleats, 2 painted aluminum mast, stainless fastenings, tapped in, canvas boots. Sun's getting to it, salt water's getting to it. Looks like it possibly could be a rubber plug that goes around, possibly from the factory, without being able to rip it open and possibly cause water intrusion. I don't want to do that. Anodized aluminum cleat fastened. This winch sounds like it's serviceable, but definitely in need. There is some grinding in there. Spin lock rope clutch. I tested this earlier. Exit, spin track, pull track. Old Merriman. Stainless construction. The actual plunger is in good working condition. They're known for going bad pretty quick. Moving forward to the Schaefer Furling system. Service notes, service points. These systems are constructed of aluminum, anodized aluminum, stainless, and there's the word again, plastic ball bearings of an unknown type with a stainless ball bearings in the races. At the drum, and in the swivel unit at the top of the mast. Real good service points on this when you're spraying down the deck. Spray this all off. Get it good and soapy. Shoot into all these holes up inside. Keep those ball bearings clean for the long term. Alright, Schaefer system. I am finding it's not a structural crack, but it's going to show the viewer exactly what to look for on stainless fittings. You can see that crack. That is the cause of crevice corrosion. Once corrosion, salt, water gets inside that crack, it starts spreading like wildfire. Bottom toggle has some pitting on it. And this is a Schaefer toggle specific. This toggle is meant specifically for this unit. It is welded in place right there. Always a good inspection point, looking at those welds. Bottom eye-jaw toggle, constructed of bronze, brass, chrome plated. Stem head fitting itself, inlaid into the fiberglass, wrapping around the aluminum rail. Looks like it's through bolted in 1, 2, 3, and then I can't tell what the top fitting is. I'm looking for any crevice corrosion. There's none sighted right now, but you can see where the corrosion is starting at the stainless strap to aluminum rail. You can see the corrosion on the port and starboard side. With the interior buried chain plates of the vessel, this would be a good service item. This is accessible, multiple points. Remove it, clean it, service it, inspect it, replace it. But knowing the age of it, once it is off, you're probably better off replacing it. Now that we have looked at the furling unit and stem head fitting, I'm working my way aft again, following down the furling line, looking at the blocks. Schaefer blocks, plastic sheet, plastic bearings. A good rinse out, wash point. UV will get to that. Working my way back further to the Schaefer stanchion blocks. Same situation, plastic. They do fill up with salt and will flatten the balls out. Line looks to be in good condition. Working my way aft to the furling line turning block. It is a Schaefer brand, shackled to a pad eye. The plastic sheave does roll. Line cleats to the deck, aluminum anodized cleat, most likely through bolted. Coming to the winches, primary winches. These specifically are Lumar 43 self-tailing 2-speeds. Big conversation points on winches. Yearly service. Main sheet winch, Lumar 16 single speed. Port side main sheet winch, Lumar 16 single speed. All winches appear to be in decent condition, usable. You can see a little bit of the chrome coming off of the bronze. The actual self-tailing units seem to be in good condition. The stripper itself, good condition on both of them. Let's talk about winch service a little bit. Every manufacturer that I've ever come across asks for a yearly service schedule. Inside this is a complex set of gears that your best bet is to use manufacturer brand grease. In this case, Lumar grease. I think it's blue. If you are in a bind, I've found that the white lithium grease is a great product. It is a yearly schedule. You can go ahead and service these. These strip apart, all the gears come out, and there are little paws inside of them. You can listen to the paw action. Click, click, click. Well, those little paws do not get greased. Over time, grease does dry out, so you want a light oil on those paws. There's just a little spring action in them, and the grease gunks up the whole action. The big bearings, the big gears get the grease. As we're about to raise the mainsail, I'm starting to look for all the items around the situations. I'm looking at the actual cross pins in the slugs and the sail themselves. I'm looking at the actual Tides marine track itself. The track, if you start scrolling up and using the backside, is showing a lot of UV damage on the plastic. This is very common. I'm using the word plastic again because Tides Marine has their own name for their brand of plastic. Once these start wearing too far through, these stainless slugs will start breaking out the plastic per se. This may be a service type down the road. This is a plug and play application. Basically, you can take off the gooseneck. The actual Tides track itself should slip right out of the groove it's in, and you can measure it, slide a new track right in down the road. As we get ready to raise the main, I will be using these halyards to go aloft and inspect the topside rigging, so I cycle my halyards before I start using them. Make sure of everything. Make sure there are no cuts in the halyards. Make sure the splice is okay. Here we have the wire rope splice. You can see it is getting funny. The threads of the rope are starting to pull apart. I will be looking at all the halyards real briefly, picking the best one for my going up. Various states of halyard decay at the splice, very common. Here we have a fish hook. Watch your fingers on that if you have wire to rope halyards. As technology has gone on, rope has actually become stronger than wire in general. Wire is still commonly used. This Mast specific, it has wire sheaves. So it's very hard to swap out to a rope halyard without doing some maintenance reconstruction on the existing sheaves. Halyard coming back down. Checking the end fitting. I will be sitting on this later. Nyko press, shackle. This seems to be in pretty good shape. All given, max sails, built in Stuart, Florida. Sail attachments at the foot appear to be in good condition. Stitching seems to be in good condition. Major wear points of the sail, always exposed to UV because it's not usually covered all the time. Slight stitching damage here. Reefing system is nicely in place. You can see the system laced through the sail itself. Reefing points. In this case, it is a single reef sail, single reef point sail with double reef points. You can add a second reef to the upper cringle. Sail condition in general seems to be good. I am not a sail maker per se. I always recommend the manufacturer have a look at it. In this case, Max Sails. Let the professionals take care of that. 1, 2, 3, 4 batten system. We're going to come down some. Looking at the batten pockets, looking at the points. All right, looking at the roller furling max sail Genoa on board. These 3 dots signify reefing points for the sail. Looking at the stitching, looking at the sun cover, the sacrificial cover, everything seems to be in pretty good shape, highly serviceable. This shaper system is constructed of anodized aluminum extrusions, a stainless feeder, and you can see the joint marks. 1 here, 2, 3, 4, working our way up the mast. As the joints work with the internal parts, the extrusion itself is wearing on the inside. You will find those dirt marks show that throughout time. If you look right here, these rivets are aluminum and they will fail. You will notice your joints making very dark marks on your sail throughout time, showing that the joints and the rivets are just going bad in general. A little service to replace those. Tails in place. A couple small patches through the years. Some sticky back patches. Cord seems to be in good condition without pulling it too hard. Sun cover seems to be decent. Right now, if we have a look at the spreader patches, not being able to get up there and have a good look, but this sail has been reinforced at the spreader. You can see the extra patch there. Got a better picture? There you go. One of the parts of a true rig inspection is checking the base of the mast. In this case, it is unaccessible without removing total panels, but you can see the step, aluminum step, anodized, seems to be in really good condition, sitting on aluminum stringers going through to and through the framework. Looks like all the wiring exits at the interior ceiling of the house and turns into the head. No real corrosion sightings, no bad information to give you. Thank you very much. All right, now we're looking at the internal chain plates of the vessel. On this vessel, they're very hard to see, to access. I do have one right here that has been coated in paint, is through bolted to the frame. Very hard to get my light up in here. I do see a stamped piece of stainless above the paint. I don't see any signs of leakage. It is through bolted and backing bladed on the other side. I'm going to stick my camera in there. This is always a good way to get into those hard to see spaces. Due to the access, I won't be able to have a real good look at it. I'm going to have to go home on the big screen computer and have a look. I did notice the starboard side plate over here. I will talk about it and then I will let you have a look at it yourself. I see an access, or a non-access, but I do see a through bolt that appears that could be a chain plate. In that very back corner does look like moisture to me. I'm seeing kind of salt crystals, which tells me water intrusion has happened or is happening as we speak. That is getting back to our chain plate bedding process. A yearly annual item to service. So I brought you some information about what's happening in the industry right now. As we speak, the Coast Guard is making code of federal regulation for rigging products, and this is primarily going to be for inspected vessels, charter vessels, larger vessels. So currently this is in writing form, draft form, all kind of information going on, and things will be changing throughout time here. Coast Guard 0709 rigging alert.
Hello everybody, this is Jason Pinko, Marine Survey. We're up the rig right now. New view for all your viewers. Someone that hasn't seen it happening. As you can see, we're dressed to the max with fall protection. We got hooks everywhere, all tied up, being as safe as can be. Number one thing is safety when you're going aloft. I think OSHA says 6 feet. It's what you're allowed to go. Well, we have taller masts than 6 feet in my world. Right now I'm sitting at mast level, and I'm here to check the radar unit. I'm here to check the structuralness of it. I see it's fastened with aluminum pop rivets and threaded fasteners. Missing some actual fastening here. It looks like at one time it may have had an aluminum fastener in it. It's now missing. Port side, I have 6 fasteners. A little bit of signs of corrosion here on the mounting. One rivet appears that it could be pulling out or it is broken. Recommendation here would be replace the fastenings. You definitely replace the fastenings. Make everything secure before your next trip. The actual Raytheon radar itself is firmly mounted to the mast. Very interesting information. I'm going to go ahead and come up some. As you can see, I have a self-hoisting unit where I can pretty much get anywhere I want to just by pulling myself up. Now that I am to a point where I can be super safe, and now that I have something to attach to, down below there's not a whole lot of anything to attach to, so I'm going to go for 2 points of safety. Starting with the spreaders. Anodized aluminum spreaders. You can see anodized aluminum, cast aluminum castings covered in leather. This is a major spot to worry about. Underneath the covering, underneath the tape, is aluminum on stainless. Very well known for a corrosion point. These should be taken off yearly. This should be anti-corrosive, cleaned, recoated just for your spreader purposes. Some people love putting so much ball of tape there that they don't take it off. They keep adding to it for the life of the rig. Worst thing you can do to your spreader tips. Corrosion sets in pretty deep. Flag higher block, aluminum, stainless base. In this specific case, we do have movement. A good idea in this case would be to shim the actual fitting somehow. If you can get a sheet of Delrin, a sheet of plastic, some sort inside of there, that would really help the system long term. As the mast is pumping while sailing, hitting waves, these spreaders are constantly working. And you can see it's not taking much for me to pump the mast, but 3 fingers. Starboard side, same thing, same situation, a little bit tighter. Port side, steaming deck light combo. You can see Coast Guard's going to require 2 nautical miles, 3 nautical miles. You can see the lens is being hazed for the steaming lights, crazed I should say. The bulb inside looks to be in good operational condition, but these UV damage is being done to the lens itself. Over time that will not meet Coast Guard standards. Looking down here to the actual tang. The tang is this piece right here, firmly bolted to the mast, 1, 2, 3, 4. Chances are, I don't know, there is a through bolt somewhere underneath that with a compression post going through the mast. Split plates coming down, swage. These, in all fact, are what I was talking about earlier. These are rotary swages. These are the better of the two type. Roll swage, rotary swage. They do have some corrosion on them, but I don't see any major problems with them. These kind of swages do deserve one life cycle. And that is pretty much it for the spreader section. Looking at the back of the mast here, the farther you get up, the less people see it. You can see some of the damage, UV damage on the tides track. Once again, now that we're out of reach of the basic eye. Well, hello everybody. We're at the top of the mast now. If you want to have a look around behind you with the camera, show everybody the view, what it's like from. I'm not exactly sure how tall this mast is. The view from the top. Some of you may never see this, but I, as a rigger, surveyor, see this a lot. As we sit here, we can see what the sun is really doing to things that are never ever touched. But that's fine. Chances are the sail doesn't even get hoisted this high. It looks like that's probably about the max hoist right there. This is just extra. Flag halyards, high mod fittings on top for the cap shrouds. High mod mechanical fittings on top. We have an extra wire up here that possibly could have been for an older VHF. It's good to have. This way you always have at least one messenger to the mast if you have to pull a new wire. Firmly mounted VHF antenna. And if I may have the camera, I got it. And then we have the LED lights. We have the AWI wind instruments. Having a look at it, you can tell the sun has beaten it up pretty good. It may be time for an upgrade. The light is mounted, if you can see that, through fastened, mounted, fastened, and here we have a plate for a Windex. The Windex is totally missing, or maybe there was never one there. Now, this is my point of concern. Due to the jump rope effect of the shroud, and it is the longest shroud on the vessel, you can see how it is cycling as I just moved it with my finger. Well, this fitting is not able to toggle in the side-to-side motion. It is only able to toggle up and down. This is a spot of concern as it's going to point load the fitting on the pin right there, and it could cause a possible failure one day. An eye jaw toggle to this eye is highly recommended. Backstay, the topping lift, wire rope fitting. I cannot see the bottom of it because it's above deck, but the top fitting looks like it is in its first service cycle. Oxidized paint. Coming around to the head stay, we have a bronze eye jaw toggle with an eye. This piece is properly toggled. Fore and aft motion, side to side motion, stay lock mechanical fitting to the head stay wire, which goes inside of the furling units. Here we have the furling swivel, all shackled together. As we used it earlier, it was in very good working condition. As I'm sitting here now on the port forward side of the mast, I have a good view of the sheaves in question. Spinnaker sheave, genoa sheave. I can see the sheave box is welded, solid cap, welded cap. This is the port side of the masthead. Once again, oxidation. When we come down from the mast, we'll be able to look at our legs where we're gripping right now for stability and see how much oxidation is happening. If you do have a painted mast, it's highly recommended that you were to clean it, service it, wax it, make that paint last a long time. Because when we get down to raw, bare aluminum, corrosion will start occurring in the dissimilar spots of metal contacts. You can find me at riggingsurvey.com for survey work, and you can find me at argonautrigging.com for rigging work. Jason Pinko, thank you.